Welcome back to the Down the Middle podcast. Joel and H. What's going on, brother?
Oh, not much, mate. Enjoyable podcast on a Thursday night now because obviously no footy, no more Thursday night footy well, for the men's at least.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, we've got the
good.
women's game on. I got it on my phone here. Have you got it on the TV there?
I've got it on the big TV, mate.
The big. What do they call it? The Battle of the Shire. Just about. Got
Oh,
Dragons,
the local
Sharks,
derby.
the
Yeah,
local derby. Sharks leading, although they've just made a costly mistake there.
yeah.
No good.
6-0. 6-0, 10 minutes to go
Um,
in the first half.
what's been happening, mate? Golf over the weekend. I heard you went pretty well.
Yeah, we
Not good
came
enough, though.
fourth. Unfortunately, a fellow listener
Shout out
won
to him.
it. No, I'm not going to shout him out.
Give him a rap.
I
Go on. He deserves it. He's
look,
been quiet recently, actually.
he has been very quiet, Jared Eason. His team won. A lot of people weren't happy, actually. We've sort of,
Really?
yeah, I heard a
Controversial.
little controversial, but I can see where they are coming from and where they're not coming from as well, because I know that him and I think it's Matthew Kelly. I think he played with.
Yeah.
Them two very good golfers. They had two other guys who are a bit shit,
So
but
because what was the handicap too high?
no, they had. I think the handicap was 6.
Okay.
But like they didn't break any rules or nothing like that. But I think people go, oh, that's pretty low. I think they went 12 under off the stick.
Good on him.
Um, and I think it's just the Picton way is I think people are pretty salty when a group of 2 or 4 play very good.
Or whenever the new members or the younger guys start winning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
right, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No.
But yeah, we came fourth, so we shot 8 under, had a handicap
Yeah,
of
nice.
8.
Ooh, not too
You
far
know,
away. That's pretty good. Only a couple of shots off. Heard you had a
I think
bogey.
we had a bogey on the 10th. Killer.
That's a killer.
I put it on the green and no one else could do anything. That's right. But yeah,
3-putted.
3-putted, yeah.
The 40 is 3-putted.
Yeah.
Holy dooly.
Yeah.
I reckon I would have walked off after that.
We're close.
Anyway, that's good, mate. Let's get into it, mate. It is finals footy, what we wait all year for. Again, like you said, we're recording on a Thursday because there's no footy. We've only got a couple of games this week. My team, I've got the jersey behind me for those watching the YouTube. I've chosen not to wear it tonight. I've gone neutral. I've gone back to my Australian
retired
jersey.
for the year.
Yeah. Look, woeful. We'll get into. We're going to go through a few things. We're going to go through the current ladder, who made the top 8, who didn't. We're going to go back to our ladder predictions, which H has done he's listened back through the audio, gone back through the notes. He's got a couple of points of where we stuffed up, notably where I stuffed up. And then we're going to look at the finals bracket, where teams can finish, who we think will make it to that grand final, and a couple of bold predictions for the final series. Kick off with the ladder, H.
I think so, mate. I think we sort of just.
You know what? I'll go through the bottom 8 because I've got a bottom 8 team. I'll leave the top 8 to you. How's that sound?
No worries.
Look, a lot of teams here that, especially as we go from 17 through to sort of maybe 13 or 12, a lot of teams here that were expected, or that a lot of people would have expected to potentially finish
the
there.
first couple of rounds, at least.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we'll get into it, where we.
Yeah.
We didn't predict it. But yeah.
Coming last, one of the. I should have double checked this stat. Has there ever been a team that's finished lower, that has come last and finished worse the year later? Because West Tigers have done it. They've just gone from 16th to 17th. Last 2 years in a row.
You would have to probably go by when new teams have come in who came last that previous season. That pretty much, obviously, it hasn't. I think the last time was the Titans. I think like the Titans came in. I think they were the newest team before the Dolphins this year. So it'd be
It's going back to like 2007, 08.
I was going to say it was about 07 or 08 or something, maybe. Might have to be.
Regardless, they came last year. They came last this year. 14 points. And I'm not gonna bag them out too much.
And I've just gone back to last year's ladder. They only won 4 games last year as well. So they won 4 games last year, 4 games this year. The only shining light is that their for and against is 47 points better.
That's still minus 290. Wow.
Yeah. So
average for the Tigers. There's going to be a lot of player movement. Obviously, already Tim Sheens. Something that we forgot to speak about. Tim Sheens has stepped away already.
But that flew under the radar, and both Sheens and Tigers signed a
no disclosure deal.
Yeah,
no one's allowed to talk about anything. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, shout out to you West Tigers fans. We've got a lot of mates that are West Tigers fans. Number 16, we've got the Mighty Dragons. Only 5 wins this season. Surprisingly, a lot better for and against compared to Team 17 and Team 15. But again, there's going to be some player movement. There's obviously a brand new coach coming in next year. Don't know. We'll just see how that rolls. They need a big preseason.
New player today as well, mate.
Oh, yeah. I'm stoked. Great.
I don't think it's too bad. Shane Flanagan's riding his son, Kyle. I think with Sullivan going, Flano takes his spot there.
To play reserve grade.
Look, obviously, I don't know. Ben Hunt's committed to 2024 as well.
He has come out and said we just need a big preseason. I was watching a couple of the Dragons games a little bit closer towards the end of the season. He was getting frustrated. He was starting to get really frustrated at the mistakes and whatnot. But shout out to Big Blakey Laurie. He took out the Dragons Player of the Year. He's had an outstanding year as a front rower. So I think he's only going to get better for it. He's only a young fella. He's only 22, maybe 23. Yep. So he's got some.
I feel like
really well this year.
When we talked about sort of Dragons having a go or like being close or winning games,
he was always
9 times out of 10 he was always up in the carries and the meters gained.
Yeah, and not many mistakes from him either. So that's good. Team 15 on 7 wins, 20 points. The Doggies, probably a disappointing season for the Doggies. That might come up in later discussion. Probably disappointing for them given their roster, given their new coach. But
that was one of the talking points. I did get a talking point from the man himself, Joel.
Yeah. Look, when we get to our previous predictions, I was gunning for the Doggies this year, but they just couldn't pull it through. A couple of injuries here and there, whatever. It'd be interesting to see how they go in 2024. Team 14, 9 wins. Only 9 wins. This surprised me because it seemed as though the Titans started quite well. And they had a little bit of a roll where they were going okay, but 9 wins, losing more than they were winning, pretty disappointing. I think they'll be disappointed. New coach coming in next year with Desi. I think that's a massive in. I think he's already starting to make waves with Tino and Fafita.
Been in the background, I reckon. Definitely sort of just going, how about we try this?
Yeah.
Do this. So then they sort of have a bit of a, when you can't make the finals, why not try things for next year already to see if they're going to work or not going to work? So then you can get rid of someone or bring someone else in. Pretty Smart play, I think.
I think the biggest thing for the Titans will be under Des. From everything I've heard from, just listening and reading from rugby league players, that he's a hard ass and he will just smash him into shape. And I think it'll be you either buy in or you don't. I think the Titans probably suits that. So I'm thinking that they'll probably go a lot better. next year. 13th, we got the Dolphins, same amount of wins as the Titans. Probably not too bad for the Dolphins this year. Started
I
well.
think it's a pretty good pass, to tell you the truth. I think,
I think it's a pass mark for the first year. Again, only 9 wins, 15 losses. Is what it is. They've done.
They faltered the last 6 weeks. They really lost players and stuff like that. So sort of maybe if they had everyone, they might have been able to get 10 or 11 wins.
Yeah. But look,
So
if they get a couple of signings over the next couple of years, I think they bump themselves right up to push into the 8. So better than coming last in your first year. I think that's pretty good. Number 12, we've got the Sea Eagles on 11 wins, 29 points because they did have a draw in there. Probably disappointing for the Sea Eagles.
Yeah, we'll get into that later because I think we both sort of agreed on 1 point. That was going to be obviously the season.
Yeah. I think that we'll probably talk about it at that point, probably being Tommy Turbo and his injuries. That definitely had an impact. So, there's talk of him not playing Origin and trying to just focus on the Sea Eagles, trying to focus on his club footy. We'll see where that gets us. Team number 11 on 30 points, 12 wins. I think a disappointment. The Cowboys. Oh my goodness. They were such a different team this year to what they were last year.
It's the team last year. It was the team this year that everyone thought going to be, and last year's team was the team this year that everyone thought. They've just switched.
Yeah. Everyone had high hopes from this year and not last year, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Cowboys do in the off season and into next year. And then look, similarly, the team number 10 and team number 9, these 3 teams were all on 30 points and missing the 8 by 1 win. You got the Eels in 10th and the Rabbitohs in 9th. It is a massive disappointment for those, mainly Rabbitohs and Eels. Massive disappointment for those 2 teams.
Well, yeah, and I've harped on it quite a lot this year. The Eels overachieved last year. I've always said that.
Absolutely.
The grand final, making of the grand final last year was pretty much a fluke, really. It was luck. And I think that showed this year with they got a good team, but they probably went a bit lower than I thought. But yeah, and the Rabbitohs, I don't know. We always talk about the Dragons having the drama in the club. That's sort of, I think the Dragons have gone past the torch to the South Sydney Rabbitohs because I think that's a lot of infighting in there.
You got Sam Burgess leaving, and as soon as the news came out about him going to England, it was, there's unrest. People aren't getting on. People have got differing opinions. This, that, blah, blah, blah. You've got Latrell in the media every other week. Special treatment, those sorts of things. Yeah. So, Rabbitohs were leading the comp after round
12. So they're the first, and this is what I'm going to say. So they're the first team in the history of the NRL to miss the 8 after leading by round 12. So whoever's led by round 12 have always made the 8. And that's not a good state.
Look, again, one point that I want to point out, 9th, 10th, and 11th, 12 wins, 12 losses. I wouldn't know the stat, but I think historically, if we look back, if you have 12 wins, 12 losses, or if you have a 50-50 split, you're generally probably making the 8. Now, they're only one win out. So I think it says a lot about the quality of the top 8 at the moment. But even, I'll let you go through the top 8 in a second, but there is still quite a gap between 1st and 8th as well. So there's definitely a gap from 9th to 17th or 16th. The Dragons and the West Tigers right down that bottom at half the amount of points as 9th. But then even, from eighth to first, there is still a gap there. So
It's still that, yeah, definitely. And
but
going into the top 8 there with the Canberra Raiders just getting through, even though they lost last week. With obviously results going their way, and they had everything to play for. If they won, they'd be getting the home semi-final this week. So
yep.
Yeah, because they finished equal with the Sydney Roosters on 32 points as well. It's just the Roosters had a minus 24 and the Raiders had a minus 137.
You know what? Roosters have done well to come 7th.
They very much pulled their ass out.
The
Especially last week.
8 rounds or so.
Yeah, in the do or die clash against the arch rivals there, the Rabbits. Then Mike Canales Sharks finishing in 6th on 34 points.
Disappointment, H?
Yeah, disappointment. We started good, finished strong, just very much from round 12 or 13 from 2021. We up and down too much. Had a couple games in the year that we should have won, and I think probably third should have been achievable. That's only 2 games. Yeah. Top 2, obviously, no way they're shoulders above. But yeah. But talking about a team that found form is Newcastle Knights finishing in 5th on 35 points.
So good.
I think it's 8 wins in a row now. I think
it was 9 after last week.
No, 9. Okay, I didn't know if it was 7 then into 8 or but yeah. So it's 9 wins. I just meant the form. It's 9 wins, and the Roosters are 5 wins in a row. So that's what their form got in. So yeah. Then to start with, for 4 teams that will be getting a second chance in the finals, the Warriors in 4th. I think resting 99% of their team last week backfired a little bit. Because I feel, as we'll get into a bit later on, I think they would rather be versing 2nd than 1st. I think they're more gettable.
But in saying that, look, I absolutely agree with you, and I sort of thought that last week. But
I think they only needed to play 3 to 4 players. But I'm not talking about Johnson. I think Wayne Egan could have played.
Yeah.
I think a couple of their forwards, Dallin could have played. He's a winger. How much work you doing? You know what I mean? It's not like you're a fullback or halfback. But you I think them couple of older blokes would help a lot.
Yeah.
Giving Tohu Harris, Adam Fanua-Blake a rest, fair enough. Like you got Nakora getting a rest. It's like, mate, he played half the season. What's he getting a rest for in the last game?
You know what? It also would have helped my Supercoach team, which would have been nice. So think of the Battlers Warriors next time. Think of us.
Yeah, definitely. And then we got Melbourne Storm pipping the Warriors with their, I think it's 8th straight win over the Brisbane Broncos now in all competitions.
Yeah.
So they finished 3rd on 38 points as well, with a better for and against than the Warriors. I think that's a pretty good season for them, especially I think people thought they were going to be dropping off. I think a lot of people had them dropping off into the bottom 8.
So that we'll get to this in a minute, but that now means that the Storm and the Broncos play each other again.
Yes.
This week,
and that's uncalled again.
I would have. I'll wait till the next bit.
So yeah, and then obviously just there, Brisbane Broncos versus Penrith Panthers. They battle for the minor premiership. Brisbane had it in their hands. They rested pretty much everyone as well.
Gave it away.
They gave it away. They lost. Penrith went then rightio. Penrith did the right way, resting 3 or 4 players each week.
Yeah.
Near full strength, I think they had, except for Luai, and then 3 or 3 restings.
I suppose the run home for Panthers was a little bit different to the Broncos though. If I just go, like Broncos playing Storm last, that's a little bit different to the Panthers playing the Cows, and quickly think about the round before. Look, the Panthers rested a few and lost to the Eels.
And that's what I mean. They sort of
Broncos had Raiders in round 26. So like, you probably don't want to risk losing to the Raiders. Panthers played Titans the round before, which was going to be pretty easy. Broncos had a bye. See, I don't know. Like they did have a bye pretty late. I don't know.
but yeah, and then
I think I like your idea that the Panthers did rest a few here and there. Fresh
definitely. And then yes, I think it's 3 years in a row now. I think the Penrith Panthers they came first last year, and they came second. So 2 years in a row now they've had the minor premiership. So well done to them, and they are on the way. Could be on the way for a three-peat. So we'll have to wait later and see what bracket the boys come up with. Now, mate, I've listened back this afternoon. Went back to I think might have been the first or second episode of the year with our ladder predictions. I've got all three of ours, even though one bloke doesn't come on. So did you want me to read it?
Don't worry about his. Don't worry about his for the moment. Let's do ours.
Rightio, sweet. Rightio, I'll start with Joel, the leader.
Mine's going to be so bad because I just did dumb stuff.
Yeah. So, and at the end of it, I'll tally this up to see who out of the top 8 teams we picked, how many we actually got right.
Yeah, go on. I've probably got.
I think it's I think it's going to be, mate. It's going to be close. I can tell you that. So the wooden spoon that Joel had is the Raiders, the team that is team 6. Sorry,
no, 8.
Eight.
That was only because I was missing one team and I couldn't remember who it was. So I just put them into 17th rather than changing my whole thing.
Yep. And
I'll stand by it.
Yeah. I thought I wrote something about that's all right. Then 16th, you had the Dolphins. Weren't too far away with that one.
Yeah, not my best.
New team. The 15th was probably 13th and 15th were probably the big kick in the gut. You had the Knights in 15th. Obviously, it was probably looking good 2 months ago.
Yeah, go the Knights.
And then the fine form of Kalen Ponga definitely lift them back up. You had your Dragons in 14th.
I wasn't too far off there.
Too far, yep. And then you had the Warriors. So you had 4th and 5th, 13th and 15th. So
that's 3 of the top 8 I've got in the bottom 6.
But I don't think no one's seen the Warriors going as good as they did this year. And then it gets pretty worse. You had the Broncos in 12th. The team that finished second. I think that's another team that I think people thought they might go good, but not that good. Then you had the Titans, Manly, and then Eels to wrap up your bottom 8.
Okay,
so you did pretty good.
Manly and Eels wasn't too bad.
Yep, they weren't
Manly
too bad. And even the
bad.
Titans weren't too far away. But then
it gets worse.
Gets a little bit, yeah. 8 and 7th. You had 8 as Tigers.
Yeah.
And you had the Dogs at 7.
Yeah, I was really hopeful for those 2 shit teams. So you know what?
Yeah.
I'm just a fan at the end of the day.
Exactly. Then in 6th place you had the Storm.
Yeah, I didn't think the Storm were going to go that good.
I didn't think that either. Then you had South in 5th. Probably going back 6 weeks ago.
Would have looked good.
You probably would have been correct. You had the Roosters in 4th, a couple positions lower. And I'll go through our ladders and then I'll go through the points just so then a bit easier. You had the Sharks in 3rd.
Yeah, I rated the Sharks.
The middle bit of the year definitely hurt us. Then you had Penrith in 2nd. And then your minor premiers and I feel like people should probably know one team that we haven't mentioned is the Cowboys. His minor premiers didn't finish in the finals. So, yeah, that was a bit of a
Yeah,
tough
but
one up there.
a boy can dream, Hayden Moore. A boy can
Boy
dream.
can dream, definitely. Now moving on to my one. I had your Dragons in 17th, so
That's pretty good. That's a good prediction.
I was one win, one loss away. I had the Dolphins in 16th. That's another pretty good one. I also had the Knights and the Warriors in 15th and 14th, so I'm a bit like you.
No good.
I didn't think them two teams would perform as well as they did. I had the Raiders in 13th. I
Missing
thought
the
they were
eight as well.
I thought they were going to be a bit mediocre team. And you take 6 of their wins that they won by less than 6, and they would be down there. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't think we're too far off there. I had the Titans 12th. I think I just missed out on that one. I had the Tigers in 11th. I didn't rate them as highly as you, but
Yeah, but see, there was I think just that squad. That squad, we just went, you know what, they'll get some wins together.
yeah.
Injuries maybe hurt them a little bit, but yeah, there was just something about the Tigers at the start of the year.
Yeah. Then I had the Broncos in 10th. Big fuck up as well.
Wow,
Uh,
you did too. Okay.
yeah. I had the Dogs in 9th. I was a bit high on them, and I think if we could have redone a ladder after a month, I probably would have put them in the bottom 3.
Absolutely.
But we don't do that. We stick solid
We
to what we
stick
think.
by our predictions. Absolutely.
I had the Storm scraping in the 8, and obviously pretty wrong on that one. I had Manly in 7th, but with the exception of one of the notes is
With
Manly will
Turbo.
make and we'll both like this. If Turbo stays fit, they make the finals. If
Yes.
they don't, I would have put them lower down. If
I
someone
do
could have
remember
said
you
to me,
saying that.
he doesn't play after round 14 or 15, I go, rightio, I'll put him 12th, 13th.
Yep.
I
Yep.
wouldn't give him hope. I had the Eels 6. I know they overachieved last year, but I did, as I said in your later prediction, I did think they would still make the 8. They're still, I feel like they're still a top 8 team. And then the Cowboys, I had the Cowboys in 5th. I think they
Yes.
burnt, 99% of the people this year of
Absolutely.
top eight bets.
I tell you
Uh,
what, Sportsbet would have made a mozza off Cowboys betters.
yeah,
There would have been
100%.
so many people putting at least money on
And
top 8
Souths.
or top 4. Souths too, right?
And Souths.
Unbelievable.
And then in my top 4, I had the Roosters in 4th. As I said in your one, they 50-50 through the year. I had my Sharkies 3rd. Bit disappointing as well. I had South at 2nd.
That's a miss.
Well, I know after 12 rounds, I was pretty good. But unfortunately, it's a full season, not half a season. So, yeah. And then I did get the minor premiers correct with the Penrith Panthers.
That was an easy bet, mate. You got to live a little. You got to be adventurous like me.
Oh, just got to keep winning, mate. That's all. And then the talking points that I sort of listened throughout the episode as well. The Tigers/Dogs, big bust. High hoped and wouldn't. And yeah, they didn't deliver. And when I said the Warriors that would finish in the 14th, I did mention they would be good in 1 to 2 years. Bring that forward. Obviously,
maybe a little bit early.
Yeah, they've done that this year. And when I had when I set the Titans in 12th, I did say Holbrook was not a good coach.
Yep.
So, but I didn't say. I wish I said he wouldn't last the season, and then I would have looked like a genius. But yeah, and the both of us slept on the Broncos and Knights.
Yeah, I know. How did
definitely
we?
didn't get.
I feel like looking back, the Broncos is easy to see that they'll finish well now. You know what I mean? Like yeah, I just feel like that's a stuff up.
And going on to my second page of notes, with how you had the Dogs in seventh and eighth. Your two main points were from that was with the Tigers in eighth. You said Appy would be a very big inclusion, and he was,
Mm.
um, and he would be massive for that team, and he was obviously. And I think they might have finished. I don't think they would have finished on the bottom if he didn't break his jaw, sort of at Origin.
Yeah,
I think
that's.
they might have got one or two more wins.
I think also with their halves,
They just never had
they
a
didn't have a
17.
leader. They didn't have. They never had the same 17. You just said right. Like I think if Appy plays when the halves and fullback combination was all being mucked around, I think if there was one person to just keep leading that team, I think they would have finished higher. Maybe even if it was only 13th or something.
I think
Um,
if Buller played fullback, Dewey, Brooks, and Appy, I think that team would
see
finish 10
Dewey
to,
as
10 to
well.
8. 10 to 8.
Dewey is a
Yeah.
huge loss as well.
Because Dewey can just do his run around left and right, and Appy can play that halves with Brooks by playing
Yeah,
in hooker. I think them four would be a very good combo, but obviously I don't think Dewey. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's staying at the Tigers. Obviously, Brooks is left to go to Manly. Buller and Appy will obviously be 1 and 9, but it'd be interesting to see what they do next year. And then also moving on to the point where you said the Dogs finished seventh. You said Dogs have an outstanding roster, but they need to gel. And
yeah,
unfortunately, with that, they didn't gel.
yeah.
And so that
Again,
was
they
two good,
had.
two good points, but
Well, thank you.
it just
See, I had
yeah,
something.
exactly. And that's why I did these points to go give a bit of context to what we thought sort of in the preseason and stuff like that to sort of just not say, oh, like what an idiot, he's got the Tigers in 8. Right. Got to give a bit of context to the
I like that.
to
That's a
the
mate. That's a mate looking out for a mate. Um,
yeah.
nice.
And also we slept on the Storm. We both sort of 8 and 6. But
They did all right.
I thought that was pretty. I think we were pretty fair on them at the start of the year. And then it'll go into the point that we think Manly would finish in the playoffs, but only depending on Tommy Turbo. And also Eagles overachieved in 2022,
Yep.
and the slow start hurt them at the start of this year.
Yeah,
That was a
definitely.
big factor. And sorry, I've just got 3 more points. Cowboys overachieved in 2022, and it showed this
Massive.
year. The Roosters were hot and cold all year until obviously the final 5 weeks where they got hot. And we both hyped up South Sydney too
I
much.
know. But I think it's easy to do with South Sydney. I will, in the off season, I will be starting to, yeah, you know, I'm going to take their finish into big consideration when I look at my ladder predictions for next year because, yeah, there must be some stuff going on there, and I think now that it's 17 teams, it actually makes a little bit of a difference that it's a top 8 and 9 teams will miss.
Yeah.
9 teams will miss. And you look at there's 3 teams there on 30. I think this is something always that has to be remembered that there's got to be 9 teams that come in the bottom 9, and there's got to be
Yeah.
8 teams come in the top 8. It could be one win. And you know what? To be honest, you might even have the Sea Eagles who are on 29 points. We could probably include them. There's 4 teams that missed the 8 by one
Yep.
win. If all 4 of those teams win, like yeah, it changes dramatically because you're going to have the Cowboys and the Sea Eagles into the top 8 on for and against.
Yep.
Um,
And I also
that they would go ahead of the Roosters and Raiders. So like
mm,
it's so tight in that middle bit. Again, I think the top teams are the top teams, the bottom teams are the bottom teams at the moment. But that middle
100%.
section, there's only and you talk about the Raiders winning 1-6 so many times. If they get beat a couple of times because they don't get over the line,
and then them other teams that lost them games might come up a bit, like depending on, you'd have to go back and see who they won them games against. And also, I do have our early predictions of overachievers and underachievers before the season, and our premiers as well. My overachievers were Souths, and they definitely didn't do that.
No, they underachieved.
And my underachievers were the Raiders, and I think they overachieved.
They probably overachieved. So that didn't work either. So you did well.
I would have looked good if I had them switched around.
Flip them, definitely.
And then going to you, your overachievers were the Dogs and Tigers.
Bow.
And then your underachievers were the Raiders and Dragons. Or Dragons.
Dragons, not necessarily Raiders. No. I think, hang on, before we go premiers, I'm going to guess my premier. Did I say the Sharkies?
You did. We both went Sharks. So
Sharks are no chance.
So technically, we're not wrong in that one because they have a 0.1% chance of winning.
We will be wrong in 4 days' time.
Don't say. Give me 11. Give me 11 days.
You're getting 4 out of me, champ.
Yeah. And so that's
what would be now that the season is done? That was our prediction for over and underachiever. What would your say over and underachiever at the end of the season, or your best achievement versus the team that just didn't do very well? What would that be right now?
I think Warriors overachieved.
Yep.
I don't want to elaborate yet as to why, because it will come later. And then the underachievers, I'd have to go Cowboys, just purely based off finishing so good last year, and then even though they only missed the finals by 2 points and top 6 by 4 points, but they had the easiest draw at the start of the year, and that was another talking point I had, but I didn't drop it in because we talked about it. They had the easiest, I think, first 10 rounds, and they didn't capitalize on that. They lost a couple of games that they shouldn't have, and in the end, you got to win them games. You got to have a fast start. So then comes to Origin period. Obviously, we know that they're going to be decimated a bit there with sort of the Queensland boys going in and out of camp. So you can sort of maybe drop 2 games max in that 7-week period.
Yeah.
But I think that definitely hurt them. And then not finishing off the year as well, they gassed themselves out a bit too much.
Yeah, I'd probably say for me, the Knights had, I'll say, the best achievement rather than overachieving. Probably the best achievement. I think again that 9 in a row. That's like that shows a bit of grit, bit of tenacity. Like, boys, we're out of the 8 here. We're not going to get there. But you know what? That's what they think. We actually are going to get there. And statistically, you're probably not going to win 9 in a row most times, but they have. That for me is a massive achievement. And I'm just going to go the Bunnies as my underachievers. Again, they're only 1 win out of the 8, but they were coming first after just about midway through the season.
Yeah,
that's a big. It's all well and good for someone to be leading after round 5. Dragons have done it before. Been leading after round 5 and then missed the 8. And I'm like, yeah, but leading after round 5, like, it is what it is. After round 12, that's different. That's a different ball game. So for me, that's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you there.
Yeah. Let's look at the finals, because I know we've been going for a little bit. Let's look at the finals. I've got the little predictor thing going on the NRL website, which is cool. You can sort of go through and you can see who's going to make the grand final. Now, as I do, I'm going to pick some Smokies.
Yeah, let's go through your finals bracket.
Okay, so obviously, whilst we're doing this will talk about the week coming. First game Friday night, we've got Broncos Storm. I reckon the Storm are going to have it over the Broncos. Storm don't lose to the Broncos historically, and after last week, I know that everyone's bringing players back in. I'm going to go the Storm again. I didn't like to say that at the start of the week, but I'm seeing some things, hearing some things, reading some things. I think the Storm are going to get the chocolates up at Suncorp tomorrow night. Saturday, 4 o'clock, out at Penrith. I can't go past Penrith. That's going to be an easy win for them. I'm predicting. Saturday night, out at PointsBet, I'm going to go the Sharks at home. I think now is the time. This week, the Sharks will win. I know I just said that you've got 4 days left, but I'm actually going to give you 11. Okay. And then the Sunday game up at McDonald Jones. I don't think anyone could beat the Knights this Sunday. That's going to be my this week. Do you want me to keep going, or you want to do this week as well?
Now keep going, because then it's
okay. Perfect. So then, as we get into next week, 2 games, 4 teams. You're going to get the Warriors and the Broncos with the second chance. So the Warriors would play the Knights, and I'm tipping that the Knights would win that game. The Knights from 5th are going to knock out the Warriors. The Broncos with the second. Straight sets, Warriors in straight sets. You've heard it here first.
I love it.
The Broncos with the second chance would dust the Sharkies. That would be my finals week 2. Getting me into finals week 3, the semi-final. First game would be first versus second, Panthers Broncos. Wait for this one. I got the Broncos to take the Panthers out.
Jesus.
I think you gotta try something. And then probably an even bigger upset, it would be the Storm v the Knights. The Knights, they're going on a roll. They're going to go for 12 in a row, mate. They're going to beat the Storm.
This is why I love the finals bracket, because mine's I'm not going to give anything away.
So hang on. Yeah, so the Knights would go 10, 11, 12. Then my grand final, Broncos Knights. Would that be played up at Suncorp? No, you still got to play it in Sydney. It still has to be in Sydney. Broncos Knights in Sydney, which helps me for my thinking. Knights go 13 in a row, baby.
Wow. So you're changing from
I'm going to buy a Knights jersey if that happens.
I will buy you a Knights jersey if that happens.
Yeah. So Knights to make the grand final against the Bronx, and they're going to win by, goddamn, it might even be a field goal.
Yeah, wow.
It's going to be an arm wrestle. Okay. Kalen Ponga with a field goal. There it is.
Yeah.
Bold prediction.
Well, yeah. Knights. I was going to say, hold that.
I'm going for the bold prediction right there. Knights to make the grand final, to beat the Bronx. Kalen Ponga field goal.
Right, yeah.
Ladies and gents. I'll work out how to put that onto the Instagram, because that's what I want to see.
I was going to say, we're going to have to try and find a way, so then we'll get Shane's input as well, and then we'll put a little poll out there to see who thinks will be the most realistic one out of the 3 of us. So I'm going to be kicking mine off, obviously, with Brisbane versus Storm tomorrow night. I think Brisbane are going to break the hoodoo. So I think with all the players coming back, I think Brisbane will be too strong, 1-6. Then going into the Panthers versus Warriors, no Sean Johnson. He's been ruled out this afternoon, so Penrith by 30. I would have said 13 plus anyway, even with Sean Johnson, but
fair enough.
Simplifies it. Then the Sharks versus Roosters, I think this is going to be a pretty good game. I'm going to go my Sharkies 1-4.
Oh, you don't sound confident.
It's the Roosters, mate, and it's us in finals. We haven't won a finals game as a team yet, so
straight sets last year, wouldn't it?
Straight sets last year, so yeah.
That's right. We were both there.
And then I think Knights by 30 as well against the Raiders. I think Raiders were pretty scrappy last week against us. Obviously, they had a sin bin for the last 20 minutes, but yeah, I think it's pretty simple. So that means obviously the Roosters and the Raiders are my teams that get eliminated.
Yep.
And then my second week of finals is the Warriors versus Knights. And I'm also like you, mate. I am going to Knights.
Yes, go the Knights.
I think the Warriors have been overhyped. I think they're going to start to crash. They haven't looked good for the last 5 weeks.
I think they're due for a downturn.
And it's not a good time to have a downturn because
No.
I think this week past Penrith Panthers, but next week you're going to have to show up. It is going to be in New Zealand, so that might help them a little bit more. But
they've done okay in New Zealand this year.
But yeah, and then my game's a little bit different to yours now. It's the Storm versus Sharkies, mate. And I know people are going to say, no, because you're a Sharks fan. I reckon the Sharks can get it done down in Melbourne.
No way. Really?
I think we'll do the ambush. I think Melbourne might.
Straight sets.
I think Warriors and Storm straight sets. So yeah, that'll probably be a bit controversial as well. So then,
okay, I love it.
We move into the prelims. Not too much to say. There's Penrith and first Sharks. I think Penrith by 30.
So you got who? Penrith Sharks.
Yep.
Yep. Penrith Sharks. Penrith win. Yep. Okay.
Penrith win by 30, and then I've got the Broncos versus Knights. But I'm going the other way, mate. I'm going to be going Brisbane win by 10 in that game.
Fair enough.
So then the grand final will be
boring.
1v2. It's going to be boring, and it's going to get even more boring because the Penrith Panthers are going to be doing a three-peat. And I think
anyone could have come up with that.
I did throw.
Where's your imagination?
Well, you know, where my imagination. I'm going to do my bold prediction as well. I'm going to go Penrith 13 plus in the final against the Brisbane Broncos. And I think Nathan Cleary will get the Clive Churchill. And my other bold prediction was the Warriors to go out in straight sets.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've got. Bold prediction from our mate, Reece Walsh to win the Clive Churchill from the losing side in the grand final. Could happen.
So
could happen when the Knights beat the Bronx.
When the Penrith beat at least we got two teams in at least the same. We got Brisbane in the final, both losing as well. But we'll just see who that other team's going to be. If it's going to be Penrith or it's going to be the Newcastle Knights winning 13.
The Knights are due. The Knights are due. Just an update. Dragons just scored 8-6 with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's right. Both teams are a bit shit. That's right.
Oh. Okay, well, that's our final series. We'll obviously check back in next week for our where are we at for finals week 2. Tipping comp is still going.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about the other comp?
We'll talk about it. And this is where it pays to listen, people. Because
this is where it pays.
We had Bunt Stars Mitchell. He won it by a convincing 250 points, I think. 254 points. But he's not a follower.
The one condition you needed, you got to follow the Instagram page. H has double checked the following or the followers is not on there.
So then I came second. So yeah.
Which H more eligible to win the ring. Obviously, we weren't eligible to win the round of golf because we can't just buy ourselves a round of golf.
Yeah.
So Mitch, if when you listen, you're going to get a consolation prize. But mate, you got to read the terms and conditions.
To get that, you got to reach out to us. We're not going to chase you because
he's not going to reach out. We'll reach out to him.
He's not. Yeah, we'll try to at least.
We'll reach out to Mitch. Honourable mention to
Damo.
To Damo. Pretty good. How far behind was he from you? I've got it here.
76
seconds.
points.
Yeah. Honourable mention to Damo as well. Only just behind. I think Damo, leave it with me. There might even be a consolation prize for yourself, mate, because that's a
He was the one
ripper.
that was puffing his chest at the start of the year, going, "How good's this?"
A ripper effort.
Um,
Especially ripper effort to Mitchell to be in the top 10,000, H more 12,000,
yeah.
Damo 13,000. That's pretty good considering I was down there at 60,000 or something. We'll reach out to those boys, but followers, battlers, you got to read the rules. There's one
Yeah.
rule on that post on Instagram, one little asterisk, and we didn't get it done. Anyway, but
Exactly.
tipping comp is still alive. I think we've probably got someone in the hot seat, someone due for the round of golf. Bades is out in front, 1 point ahead of Shano, 2 points ahead of H Moore, 4 points ahead of Rocky
Yeah.
Horse Road. It's going to be hard
So
to beat Bades.
He's pretty much got a 4-point cushion on the second place, pretty much, really, as that would move down. If me and Shane finished first and second and Baden finished third, then that prize would go down.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but anything can happen. Anything can happen. We'll just see.
Definitely.
Wait and see.
And need a couple roughies to, and I know he's going to pick the Roosters. So
there's a loss.
Yeah, exactly right. He could
follow my tips, Bades. Follow my tips, mate. I'll get you through.
Exactly.
But we'll keep rolling with that one. H, we might have to organise a little ceremony. Maybe this weekend. Maybe we'll hijack maybe we'll hijack an event that's already going to happen.
Yeah. We'll use the surroundings to our advantage.
Just got to, when you're in the right environment, mate, you just got to take advantage.
100%.
That's all for us, battlers. It's finals footy. Strap yourself in for the weekend. Get on and tell us what you think about our predictions, because I know mine are a bit left field.
I think mine are a bit left field as well. Well, in the later predictions was maybe not in the finals. Prediction I might get slated because of the Shark going back to back in 2 weeks, but that's all right. I'm here for it. That's what we're there for.
Let us know. I'll try and put something together and put it on the Instagram. Again, make sure you follow our page. Make sure you follow us on Spotify. Follow our, subscribe to our YouTube, whatever it is. 5 stars. Do all the business. Watch the videos. Listen to the stuff. Let's do it. All right.
And we'll see you next week.
Battlers, enjoy the finals. Go the Dragons in the women's.